Passion in one word, I would say it's remember. Passion gave me the opportunity to remind myself that I'm always loved and that I will always be loved, and that even the return loves me, God loves me, my friends love me. It also gave me a chance to remember that God is in charge of my life, and if I try to take over it, it's still God's plan and not mine.
My passion experience in one word was life-changing, and I'm glad I went on the trip with my friends, and I'm glad that God re-entered my life that day.
Passion was phenomenal. Levi Rusko was great and how he talked about we need a second wind and we can't do everything on our first wind. God challenged me with using that second wind to find my purpose for this year and for the rest of my life.
Okay, so it was my first time going to Passion, and so I really enjoyed just like everyone, I don't know, like so many people there for the same reason, but it was a really remarkable experience for me to be able to be there with all of these people that I knew and watching them worship and being able to be with so many strangers and meeting new people that were kind of on the same page as I was.
The word I've chosen to describe Passion 2017 would be the word rejuvenate, because I left feeling inspired and refreshed and excited to take on the challenges of this year.
Passion has given me confidence and encouragement to fight my daily struggles.
One big thing that I took away from Passion this year is that while we may never be worthy of Jesus, we are not worthless to Jesus. Because of what he has done on the cross for us, we are chosen, we are valued, and we are loved.
Sobering and awe-inspiring to witness so many brothers and sisters worshiping the one true King.
Before we jump in on the interviews, one of the things that you guys will hear us say this often. When you step into the return, we talk about stories all the time, and we see it through this lens. You don't just have a story to tell. You are a story being told. And so one of the things that we thought would be one of the most valuable thing that we could do tonight, like I said earlier, is just come out of the gates this year talking about some of the stories that began to unfold in a new way in this last week. And so what we want to do is create some space to begin unpacking that. And for those that weren't able to be with us on this trip, you're with us now, and you're every bit as much a part of this thing as anybody else, okay? And so what we want to do is create space for you to know that you are invited into the same story that everybody else is. And so we're going to jump in, we're going to talk about some stuff and see how this goes, all right? Yeah? Okay, so let's come out of the gates with this. Why don't you introduce yourself, say who you are, and how you ended up here.
Can't tell a joke along the way?
No, no jokes.
Okay.
His jokes aren't funny. I love him.
My jokes are...
Some of yours are, oh.
My name's Christian. It's kind of weird seeing everything from this point of view. I'm used to seeing it this way.
Look at him.
Came to return a little while ago. My friend Kyle from Salem, he brought me, and it's been a great experience. Passion's awesome, and this place is awesome.
All right, well, my name's Jerica, and I came to Passion. It'll be a year in April. Woo. So one day I was working at the gym, and I was always that person that came to Northside and sat in like the dark, creepy corner in the back and was never like a part of anything. And I was just like, okay, I know I need to get a part of the church. And so I was literally at 5 p.m. Googling, and I got on Northside's webpage.
You guys know what Google is?
Does anyone know what that is? No.
So there's 12 of you? Okay, I'm surprised by that.
Anyway, I got on Northside's webpage, and then I saw this thing called The Return for College Age Ministries, and I seen that it started at 7, so I was like, okay, someone cover my shift, and I just left, and I walked in, and Ben came up to me, and he was like, hey, who do you know here? And I was like, no one. And he was like, are you serious? Why? And I was like, I just came here, and he was like, that's cool. I was like,
it was cool.
I promise I have friends. I promise I do.
It takes a lot of courage, I think, to just show up and not know anybody. Anywhere, right? Right? Anywhere.
Yeah. And
like
then
class, right? You're like, we're not doing that. Go on.
And then I fell in love, and I'm still here, so that's fun.
Oh, gosh. Hi, everybody. I'm Jack Blevins. So I've been in and out of a lot of churches, a lot of places I never really felt welcomed and loved. And so Christian, a good buddy of mine, and Kyle from Salem, they were like, come to the return and check it out.
Kyle from Salem sounds like, it's like this medieval, like, Kyle from Salem.
Yeah. So I came and I checked it out, and I loved it. School's been kind of bad to me. I've always had classes at this time on Wednesdays, like all the time. This is the first semester that I don't. So
No, you
seeing
don't.
You guys, yeah, no, I
You
don't.
didn't have class
No, I don't.
tonight, guys. That's a big deal. You don't either. Right? I think that's a win, is all I'm saying.
And so, yeah, I scheduled that on purpose so that I could be with you guys and get to know you guys a lot better. So I'm excited.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Okay, so, yeah, who knows? You can just hang on to it. Maybe you need to hang on. I don't know. So passion, you guys, everybody, you've heard us talk about this a lot. Like you're like, oh, enough with the passion, right? Leading up to it, until everybody wanted to sign up at the last minute. There's a lot of experiences that come with this. There's a lot of, there's bus rides, there's van rides with Gary and Barbara, and that right there could change your life. But getting to experience incredible communicators, getting to be in a sea of people, tons of just experiences all over the map. You guys had having never gone before, and you've gone once, correct? Like, tell me what were your expectations going in? Like leading up to it, what were your expectations?
Well, pretty much I just thought there was going to be like really cool concerts and I wasn't disappointed. That's all I heard about, like, for the majority, like, just before I went. So my small group with Austin and Nicole is when I first heard about it, and people just kept talking about the music, which I love worship. It's one of my favorite things to do. So that's whenever I went, and then Carrie Underwood showed up, which was cool.
Carrie Underwood showed up.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I don't even know what happened, so I got so excited that at one point I had just seen a headlock. Don't know how it happened. I just screamed, freaked out, and had her in a headlock, and she was smacking me, and I was just like, oh my gosh! Like, I blacked out a little bit.
Take a moment and soak that up. Like, just take that in. Like,
I don't know.
Because there's a few of you that I'd be okay if she put you in a headlock, like, because you wouldn't be able to get out of it. But, yeah.
Man, so I was really excited. And then I got surprised by just, you don't really, you can talk about it was such a great experience, but to be there and walk in and just, for one, see like all the phones light up, and then like just
destroying their batteries, right?
Yeah,
it's
exactly. My phone died several times. So every restaurant we were at, I was always like trying to find an outlet, like plugging it and stuff. But and then it pretty much overwhelms you. And I don't know how many times that I was worshiping, but then I had to stop and just take it in, because there was times that even the worship leaders had to stop, and then you just heard everyone else's voices, and I was crying, because it's just I can't even describe the feeling. It just overwhelms you. And so I was not disappointed with that aspect at all.
So what were you guys expecting?
Well, I don't know what I was expecting. I got to be honest, I fangirled hard when Carrie Underwood came out too.
Her head
Christian
was
knows.
so huge behind us, on that screen behind us. The screen behind us was like the size of that wall, and her head was like the size of like 4 cars. It was just... It's ginormous.
Well, like Jarek has said, I'm a huge fan of worship myself, and so I was just really, really excited to, worship in the same building with 55,000 other people like me. College-age people, $300 can do a lot of things for us, and we all chose to spend it to be under the same roof, worshiping the same Creator, and it was just so incredible. Sorry, I'm getting over a cold, so my voice sounds really funny. But I always buy my music live because I love to hear everyone singing at the same time. And it was just an unbelievable experience, way, way better than what my mind pictured it to be. So,
Christian, did you have any expectations?
Compared to last year, like, I heard about my first time going. Nobody tell my mom who's an English teacher that I said that. Okay. I was always told great music and good communicators, like really good communicators. So I went my first time last year, and it was phenomenal. Completely changed me, helped put a new fire inside of me to conquer 2016. And didn't really plan out. So my expectations for this year was, I don't know what I want. I want something amazing to happen. And God said, all right, I'll do that, and I'll up you. I'll make it more than anything you can possibly imagine. And it was just amazing. Like, I have no idea who Francis Chan was until we got there, and I told my dad, I'm hearing some dude named Francis Chan speak, and my dad's like, seriously, like, I'm so jealous of you right now. I've read his books. I listened to his podcasts. Like, he's phenomenal. Can I go in your spot? And I was like, you can't pass for 22 years old, Dad. Like, you got a lot of gray hair. But like, Dad's like, it's going to be awesome. You need to listen. And my expectations were, as the 3 days kept going, was I needed to open my ears and open up the eyes of my heart to really take in what God was saying. That way I wouldn't miss what my expectations were, what my expectations for this year were. And like I said in my little video, it was to find a purpose and to really start fulfilling my purpose.
So let me ask this. Do you feel like you landed there?
I feel like I landed there about 20 times during worship, with the song You Are Worthy, with David Crowder. You know, Nobody Judge. You know, I know Carrie Underwood, but I didn't recognize her. And I'm like, who's this blonde chick?
Her head was the size of...
I know, it was huge. But I was like, I looked at Jack and I go, dude, I know she's a singer. Like, I know her songs.
That song sounds familiar.
It sounds really familiar. Who is this? And he goes, it's Carrie Underwood. I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then it's like it. But like, I mean, it was like literally God dropped me right on the X, like, you know, on the treasure map. X marks the spot. God picked me up, dropped me there, picked me up, dropped me there again, and he just kept dropping me on the X. Like,
I'm envisioning like God just like body slamming Christian right now. Like, spin it, throw him down.
That's what I was kind of thinking while I was saying this. But I was like, God's just like, are you getting the point? Like, your expectations are met, and I'm trying to give you more. Are you getting this? Please get this. And it was just amazing.
So let me throw this out there. Like, I know a lot of us, and those of you that like, your brain is probably still churning with processing what you experienced. Some of you, like, I know when I got home trying to explain to my wife, I didn't really know where to begin, and I was pretty tired, but I was all over the map in trying to explain it, because part of my experience was sitting in the middle of all of you, just letting my heart be humbled by when there was nobody to sit around and to see this come to life. And so like I'm trying to explain, and like Crystal asked me a great question. She's like, well, what was the moment? What was the most meaningful moment that maybe led to what could be next? And so I was like, that's a great question. I don't know if I know the answer, but I'm going to ask some other people that. So tell me this, and it's probably easy to be like, oh, there's a gazillion moments. But what was the most meaningful moment that from there you recognize that God has given you next steps, and what are those steps?
Well, so is Louis, right? That's his name, one of the speakers? Yes. Okay. So I'm horrible with names. So there was, whenever he was talking, he was telling people, do stand. when, he was pretty much saying that if you stand and, kind of confess your sins to God and things like that, it's freeing. And I'm not gonna lie, like, I was sitting there like, all right, which one of you guys are gonna stand? Like, and then, like, I was literally doing that. And then he said, even if you're with your church, and even if, they know you to be saved, maybe, and even if no one else is standing, maybe you should stand, and you'll be the first one to stand. And all of a sudden, my heart broke. Because I think all of us have the issue with, like, God, here's part of my life. You can have this, and I'm going to hold on to this, and you can't have this. And I was doing that with, like, so much of my life. There was a part that a big part that I didn't want him to touch because I wanted to be in control of it. And so right before I stood up, my heart was racing, and I was just like, okay, I'm with Ben, and I'm supposed to be a leader, and I'm with the other people who are supposed to be leaders, and this is like a really, oh gosh. And so, and then I stood up, and as soon as I did, I just felt peace, just peaceful. And in that moment, I was just saying, God, this is it. Like, the stuff that I'm holding on to, I can't hold on to it anymore because you know me better than I know me. So who am I to even try to handle this by myself? And most of the situation that I struggle with the most is with, like, love and relationships. And I'm always just wanting to, like, take the wheel myself. And who am I to do that, Austin actually had told me a story that I never really grasped until that moment. I thought of you when I was sitting there, and it was he had read a book, and it was pretty much, I guess this guy was, like, talking to his friends, and they were talking about, like, why aren't you with someone yet, and things like that. And he was just like, let me just put it this way. Like, he was saying that he was waiting for God to point out that person, and they were like, oh, that's stupid and stuff like that. And he was like, let me just put it this way. If God had the most beautiful women in front of me and the most talented, and he said, all right, you pick, who do you want? He said that he would literally drop to his knees and say, God, you pick, because you know me better than I know me, so who am I to even choose? And I need to do that in all parts of my life, and that's the thing that took me from Passion. It's a very humongous lesson, and it took 20-something years to figure that out. My birthday's tomorrow, and I'm going to be 25, and I'm really upset about it.
Tomorrow's your
I said it
birthday?
off the mic.
Tomorrow's your birthday? Tomorrow's your
Well,
birthday.
it's not, okay, just.
Some people are like, yeah, we already know.
Yeah, most did. So we, but anyway, so, like, it's a really big lesson to learn, and I still struggle with it, but that moment, though, giving that to him, it was so freeing, and I can say that I can breathe now. Is that an accurate term? That's what I feel from that. And the next steps for that is just to continue to do that, to continue just to give it over, even in, like, the most little, what I think is little situations. He still is like, I can take control of that.
So, like I said before, I'm a huge, huge fan of worship. And the song Worthy, when I first heard it, it tore me to pieces. I choked up. I couldn't sing a word of it, to be honest. I fought God at every turn. He wanted me to cry. He wanted me to fall apart. But I'm an ugly crier. So I was like, I can't do it. I can't cry, God. And so I listened, and it reminded me I've always wanted to be a worship leader. And I don't know if I'm capable of singing very well, but I know that I can play the guitar. I've recently learned that that is a skill that I have. And it reminded me that we're supposed to use the skills that God gives us to glorify Him in some way. And so I talked to Ben about it, and I talked to Rickmer about it. I'm really excited. And I think that my next steps are to try to get involved with worship in some way. So I am going to start practicing and rehearsing and hopefully be up here with you guys soon. So that was my next step moment, and the song was that was my revelation. So.
What was your next step moment?
I'd have to say my next step moment was when Levi Lusko got out on the final day, and like I fell in love with the dude's message and just how he presented it and how he lets God work through him. Last year when he did his interview with Louis, I was like, dude, this guy's something cool. And he was talking about how, you know, there's that second wind. And he referenced how he was on a bike ride with some guy, I forget if it was like his trainer or something, and he was like going up the hill and he stopped halfway. Levi's like, I stopped halfway, and I was just like leaning over my handlebars, just feeling like I'm getting ready to puke. And my trainer's like standing by me and goes, puke and rally, puke and rally. And he was like, and I'm like, puke and rally. I was like, can't really, that doesn't sound like fun. And then God's like, that's what you need to do. Because in my life, I've had a lot of difficult things that have happened in the past few years for me. I didn't really succeed at college when I went to Cincinnati, and I came back home and I just tried to jump right in, taking control of my life, jump right back into school again here at Ivy Tech. I was like, I'm just going to push through and get through it like I did through high school, how I just coasted by. I'll just flip a switch, get right back onto it, and get the A's and B's I usually got in school. God's like, yeah, that's not going to work this time. He's like, you can't just do the same old, same old. And I let my failure of school always hold me back from everything. Like I even just, perfect example, I just beat myself up during sound during the first song when I couldn't figure why Austin's mic wasn't on and working. I forgot that I had adjusted it for when Kelsey gets up and speaks, and I had to readjust it back. And I was like, great, you know, you make a mistake, you mess up. That's perfect, you know, and I just kept hearing puke and rally, dude, puke and rally, puke out your past and rally to the future. And that's what God's been telling me. And he's like, in order for you to have that purpose and to fulfill it and to do what I've called you to do, you have to puke out your past and get it all out and then rally towards the future and take that second wind and go do something with your life. And, you know, that kept coming to mind. And then Crowder's song, Run, Devil, Run, just kept playing in my head. I love the song. It's a great video, too. You know, side note,
it's like
yeah.
a commercial.
Yeah. But I mean, it just reminded me I have to puke out my past and rally towards my future. And how Louis said, you know, you take the cross and you turn it to an X. And he talked about how your guilt and shame will try to come up and keep you. The devil will try to use your guilt and shame to hold you back from stuff. And I was like, so while I'm puking out my past, I literally got to proclaim in my life, devil, you got to run. If I want my purpose, I got to rally and tell you to go. Yeah. Bye, Felicia, as Jericho just said.
And on that note, thank you guys. Thank you guys for sharing with you.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you.
So here's what's next. You can leave that there. Here's what's next. We're gonna watch some more stories and then have some more interviews here shortly. So
Taught me that no matter what you've been through or how broken you are always worthy of God's love, even when it feels like you're not.
Passion was awesome. I got to see just 50,000 college students all praising God together. It's just awesome to see how incredible our Lord and Savior is.
Passion was just what I needed to set my heart on fire for God again, and I will forever be thankful for it.
Running the race with Jesus means that I get to rely on a constant God that endures forever. I'm called to run the race with endurance.
I think Passion 2017 was absolutely amazing. It definitely set my heart to get into the Word more and starting to learn more about the stories of Jesus.
The one word that comes to mind is valued, because I know what my value is now, even though the world tries to tell you otherwise.
Peace.
Mic drop.
For me, passion was just about letting go of some of the things that I've been holding on to from my past, just the shame and the guilt, and just ready for 2000 to be the year that I fully and completely fall in love with who the real Jesus is. And I'm just so excited and so grateful for what we got to see and learn.
At Passion, I felt God move when I was in my community group of 8 people, and we were all able to sit together on the last night there and just pray over one another without really knowing one another that well.
If I were to describe passion with one word, that word would be consideration. To consider if this is the right path that God wants me to go, to consider if what I am doing is for God. And that is what passion means to me.
I think the best way to describe passion is its name itself. It's just about knowing what you're passionate about and really showing that off to the rest of the world. And it's such a great experience, and I'm so happy that I got to go.
It really stood out to me when Levi Lesko said to train for the trials that you're not yet in, because for me, scripture can kind of be a last resort, and so this statement has inspired me to keep pursuing scripture and to hold it close to my heart.
The word that comes to mind whenever I think of what I learned at Passion is freedom. He frees you from life's hurt and just replaces it with love and joy.
So I'm Rachel or Ray, whichever one you prefer, and I came to the return after graduating college in Texas, and both my brother and my friend Caroline were coming here, so that's kind of how I ended up here.
Well, my name is Olivia. I first started coming here like a year and a half ago, and one of the only people I knew was Jen Noakes. And I literally, I had been looking for a college group to go to on Wednesday nights, and I messaged her, and I was like, "Are you gonna be here tonight? I just don't want to go alone." Just want to know somebody because it's terrifying. But yeah, been here ever since. So yeah.
All right, so I'm Dylan, and where to start? Anyways, where to start? I was a total mess. I mean, still am a mess, but not as bad. But anyways, I was I think about God way too much not to know him, not to try to seek him. So I was driving home one day, and I was like, well, church is right over there, so I'm just going to stop in. And if you know me, I've got a crazy work schedule, so it's if I'm going on Wednesdays. So I walked in here, and little did I know it was a college age group. So I landed right where God needed me. So it was great.
Awesome. Well, like we had kind of talked about, like you heard the last group talk about, we all had a point or a reason where it was hey, I'm going to pull the trigger on this thing. So I know that this was your second year going, Olivia, right? And then Rachel, this was your first time, correct? And Dylan, this was your first time as well. Because you started joining us. That, when you wandered in here, was how many months ago?
Well, I came last September, but it was for a really short time. Then I really came back in June, maybe July.
Okay, so he's really no, you're fine. So Dylan's really only been joining us for about 6 months now consecutively, and like Olivia said, her first time was a year and a half ago. And so for my first timers, tell me, what was it that made you want to go in the first place? Did you have any reservations? And even if you didn't want to go in the first place, and we just kept talking about it, kept hounding you, you probably got texts from at least 5 people in here saying you're going. So what was it that if you had any reservations about going, what were those? And then what was it that finally made you want to go? I guess all of you all.
Okay, so whenever I first heard about Passion, I was really excited. I've been to a lot of conferences in the past, not nearly as big as this one, but I think they're just really fun and a great way to start your year especially. But my problem with going to Passion was my work schedule. And I asked off, and they said no. And I asked off again, and they said maybe. And I asked again, and they're like, we'll think about it. And I asked a 4th time, and they're like, okay, I guess you can go. So it was really cool just to see that persistence gets you there.
Yeah, that's dedication.
Yeah.
Most people would just give up after one time, no, okay.
Yeah.
But
I was really excited, and Ben was like, oh, I forgot you can't go, but he kept asking. I'm like, maybe I'll just ask again. So yeah, it was pretty great that it worked out. So I'm excited that it did.
You're trying to be.
Okay, so what made me want to go to Passion? Originally, it was just Passion's there, it's on the back burner. Maybe I'll go, it doesn't matter. But I was off work and just persistency is key. Like, everybody just kept on hammering, like, hey, go to Passion, go to Passion, go to Passion. I was like, well, what am I going to tell these people? Because I have nothing to do. So I was like, all right, so I'm going to go to Passion. So I signed up, paid the $250, and that's that. So I'm glad that those people just kept hammering me.
So are you happy that you went?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Like 100%, there's zero regret. So that's good.
Okay, what about you, Olivia?
Well, I went last year, so
Yeah.
I know how amazing it was. I wasn't actually going to go this year just because money has been a little tight in the last, 6 months or so. And so I was like, I don't really think I can afford that right now because college. And, God made a way for me to go to college, to go to Passion. And, I'm really excited that I went. I liked last year's a lot, obviously, but I think this year, I don't know, just felt like, it's more eye-opening, I guess.
I was going to say, do you see a difference between, going the first time? I felt like when I went the first time, it was super, just so overwhelming in a good way, but that it was, hard for me to process. Did you see a difference between, your first year and then this year going back?
I feel like, for me, the difference was, the first year I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. The second year I could actually prepare for it.
Yeah.
And I kind of knew how things were going to go. Obviously I didn't know how God was going to talk to me or anything like that, but I don't know. I feel like I was better. I don't know. It was more expectant.
Prepared,
I could actually be intentional about certain things.
Definitely. Okay, so next thing I want to talk about, we all know that we're going to Passion to worship and meet new people and just kind of see 55,000 people who believe the same thing as we do. But God obviously moves on a personal level there. So the next thing I kind of want you guys to answer or just talk a little bit about, did anything change for you at Passion? Do you feel like God challenged you with anything, or did anything new come up in you that you thought that felt different? Did anything change, or do you feel that God challenged you with anything during during the couple days or the days home? Were you convicted with anything? Anyone can answer. He's like,
all right. I think Beth Moore said it's Passion will infect you, and those who are infected, they pay a higher price than any type of currency money. It's you're paying with your cravings, with your relationships, and that really moved me, because Piper was what is evil? Evil is preferring anything over God. And I found myself there. I was like, okay, so I just connected those two. And I was like, I'm preferring a lot of stuff over God right now, and I need to cut that out, and it starts now. So that's where I started.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So I guess the first thing that hit me, I know the last group talked a lot about the song Worthy, but it was my favorite song the entire week, and I actually have the word worthy tattooed on my wrist, and it's been there for a while. So whenever he started singing that song, whenever it got to the chorus, it just hit me, and it's one of those moments like Jerica was describing, it's like you can't even breathe, and it was just an incredible reminder of who God is and how worthy he is of everything in our lives. And then the second thing that really hit me while we were there, I know we talked a little bit about Levi Lesko, Christian did, and having a second wind. And then Ben talks all the time about how people say that at this age we're going through an age of discovery, but he really sees it as an age of recovery. And I think that's just, they correlate really well, and that this weekend was really a reminder for me of who I am and where my faith is, and where I want to go, and that God is giving me that second one to keep pursuing him.
Let's see.
Even if you didn't feel like you got challenged with anything, you could just share one thing that really stood out to you or you learned over the couple days.
Well, I guess the last few months, God's really been challenging me with just, I guess what Jerica kind of touched on, I kind of try to take control. I know that God knows better than me, but it's hard for me to still hand everything over to him. With me graduating college this coming spring, I don't know, I've just constantly been worried of, like, what am I going to do? Where am I going to go from here? And trying to take it into my own hands. And I don't know, I've just tried handing it over to God. I guess I've been super stressed about it, so that's why I kind of left, like, all right, God, like, here's this, and I don't want to keep stressing. I don't want to keep worrying about it. You've got this.
Yeah.
Also, like, point that I really liked was, I believe it was the Wolves, the lady that ended up having, like, the seizure.
Catherine and Jay.
Yeah. I loved them so much. Like, okay, so this lady, for those who didn't go, I think she had a birth defect, right? And ended up going, like, totally paralyzed on her left side. And, like, I don't know, she doesn't, she's not crushed about it. She, like, was just using it as a blessing for other people, is just so positive, and her attitude about it was just so refreshing and so beautiful. And she had every reason in the world to feel, like, angry at God, really, if she wanted to. And obviously I'm guessing that was first few years, like, you know, a little depressed of, you know, losing the left side, but using that message and traveling around, and just that, you know, suffering is an honor to have, and it's a privilege.
Yeah, I mean, definitely that sticks out to me as well, like, because she talked about missing, like, the first couple years of being able to care for her son because of being hospitalized and having to do brain therapy. And, like, I know for those of us who were there, and, like, if anyone watched it online, just seeing the look in her eye, like, she completely believed and felt in her heart that, like, her suffering was something to be cherished. Like, she was so genuine when she said that, and I just thought that flips the entire mindset of, like, this culture on its head of just that, like, you know, oh, poor me, like, wanting, you know, when life has you down, or you just feel like you keep getting dealt cards of, like, struggle and hardships, to just be like, you know, throw yourself a pity party, or to want people to help you and just feel sorry for yourself. But her mindset was so completely not that. Like, she definitely believed that her suffering was something to be cherished, and that, I know, like, throughout scripture, like, the apostles, like, as they're persecuted, like, they'll count it as joy to, like, struggle and to be persecuted just for the glory of Christ. And so that was definitely something that stood out to me. So last question, and then we can wrap up and watch it, get back into our groups and stuff. So if you, like we kind of talked about, being challenged with something or learning something new, obviously, like Dylan was saying about Beth Moore, like, saying, like, all this stuff comes at a cost. Like, I watched Beth Moore's message back again the other day, and she's talking about, like, sometimes it's going to cost you your plans, your dreams. It's going to cost you your secrets. It's going to cost you your relationships. So, like, it doesn't always necessarily mean something has to go from your life. Sometimes it means adding something to your life. So thinking about, like, what has challenged you or what changed for you at Passion, how, and it's a question that we've been kind of been asking and beaten to death over and over, what changes next? What are your next steps? Even if it's something so small about a mindset or a daily habit of getting up earlier to read, what changes next for you in your personal life?
I think for me, mine is being more intentional with everything that I do. I thought it was really cool whenever I got back from Passion, we started having hour lunch breaks instead of half hour. And so now I get to take my Bible to work with me and read for that last half hour of my lunch break instead of not having anything to do. So I thought it was really awesome that God is giving me a time to intentionally pursue Him. And then I asked God to put things in my life that I can show my faith, not just like read about Him and things like that. And ironically, today while I was at lunch, I brought my lunch, and then I was like, nah, I don't want to eat that. So I went to Arby's down the street, and I was sitting there eating my lunch, minding my own business, and this homeless lady walks in. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like my heart's pounding. I'm like, God, give me the strength to actually get up and go say something to her, because I'm a very introverted person, and that is not something I normally do. So I go over and I walk and I sit down at the table she's sitting at. I'm like, hey, do you want something to eat? And she just like starts crying. And she's like, you have no idea how much I needed this right now. So me being me, that was not good enough. So after she got her food, I'm like, do you want to come sit with me? And we can eat our food together. So I had lunch with a homeless person today. And I just got to hear a little bit about her past. And just be a little comfort to her. And I thought that was just a really cool part of my day, that God's putting those things in my life that I asked him for, and it's been like a week. So I'm really excited about that.
That's amazing. I think she wants you to talk, Dylan.
All right, so next steps. I've been doing my devotionals, but definitely just staying on those, just staying on point, just digging into God's word. And they gave us a brand new Bible, so I've actually got a really nice Bible now that I can do. So anyways, that's awesome. That and just praying more. And true story, I prayed for the first time out loud to a group of strangers at Passion. And if you know what that feels like, it felt like I took 3 scoops of pre-workout. Like, my heart was just pounding. It was just out of my chest. Like, just a group of strangers.
We don't know what that feels like.
So that was awesome. So definitely just, praying more, just seeking God more. And I've got lunch with Ben tomorrow, so maybe that'll be a good step. So I'm anxious to see where that takes me.
Well, next steps really, like, part of my New Year's resolution is to just kind of work on my relationship with God. Obviously, it's not just a New Year's resolution, but definitely I've kind of put him a little bit down the back burner for a little bit. So just kind of getting back into that and praying and being intentional. Next steps, I don't really know yet. I'm just slow process, just starting a little bit at a time, just trying to get back into the habit of reading devotionals and stuff. So, yeah.
I mean, that's 6 bits of 6 stories. And even with the videos, there's a ton more. And bottom line is, there's a bunch of us that went. And some of us, maybe we know what our next steps are. Some of us, we have no idea yet. But that yet means that we get kind of the window to figure that out together. And like what I was saying earlier about the fruit, this is where the accountability comes into place. Where if we're going to be serious about doing life alongside one another, I know some of you guys, you're about to head back to school. Some of you are like, I got to head back to work. Some of you are like, I'm ready to be done with all that, right? And it's like 2 days in or 3 days into the semester, whatever. Bottom line, what we hope to see happen, what I've been praying for quite some time, is that this experience would not just be an expensive trip to Atlanta, that it wouldn't just be fun because we got Bo-Berry biscuits and because we got to be in a stadium alongside other people. What my prayer is that it would be catalytic in your life, because I believe that every step we take is spiritually formative. I believe that your choice to be here tonight matters. And I mean that, because what that tells me is, for whatever reason, whether you even wanted to be here or not, you chose to be here. And I believe whether it's just this much or this much, you chose to give that much room for God to move. And I can guarantee you, whatever you give him, he will work with that. But my hope, my prayer is that you give every bit of it to him. And so over these next several months, we're going to try and find ways to tell more of these stories. Because some of you, and I'm going to invite you to do this one more time. I know Kelsey has worked hard to get this word out. We want to know. Like, maybe it's you just got to tell one other person, and you just got to say, this is a decision I made, and I need accountability with this. Or this is a decision I'm considering, and I need your prayer in this. But we're inviting you, shoot me an email or a message, or set up a lunch or a coffee with Kelsey or I. We want to know what God is doing in your story. And it's not just because we want to tell it. It's because we know that God is intending to tell the best story with your life. Because when Jesus has a hold of it, you have the best story. You have the best story ever told. And we are to be the ones that live that out in every area of our lives. That's what we're going after. That is the story of the return. That's who we are.